We'll move on then to The Big Sleep.
Let's say somebody create a linking device about more Bogart and Bacall or something, rather than one of our normal tenuous links, or is that all I'm getting?
That's all you're getting.
I'm very tired. I might go for a sleep, but I hope it's not The Big Sleep.
After that link, I hope it is. I'm sorry. Yeah. We're already not friends, right? So
I hope.
It doesn't matter.
I hope you get bit by a dead bee, Drew.
I'll just have to get a stinger and bite it back, Craig.
That's it.
Based on Raymond Chandler's novel of the same name, The Big Sleep stars Humphrey Bogart as Los Angeles private detective Philip Marlowe, who's hired by an elderly man, General Sherwood, Charles Waldron, to deal with his daughter Carmen's, Martha Vickers, gambling debts, and whatever those may in truth be, as there's a strong hint of blackmail in the air. Marlowe, who introduces himself as being 38, because of which I actually snort laughed. Bogart was about 10 years older than that at the time of filming and looked at least another decade on top. Like I said in my introduction earlier, those are some real city miles on bogey. But I digress, not for the first time, I'm sure. Soon finds that there's much more going on with his family than it first appears, including the other daughter, Vivian, Lauren Bacall, and her ties to the gangster Eddie Mars, and the mysterious disappearance of the General's former employee, Sean Regan. There's also the murder of the General's chauffeur, and the murder of the pornographer Arthur Geiger, and the murder of... Well, there are a good few murders, and I'm sure I'll shock you by telling you that they're all somehow connected. So Marlowe must traipse around Los Angeles and the surrounding area, gathering facts, making connections, avoiding one wayward Sherwood's daughter while beginning a relationship with the other, and trying not to get killed many, many times. A noir detective's lot is a hard one, to be sure, as is the lot of any film reviewer trying to tell you anything further about the plot of The Big Sleep, because, so I'm not going to try. One of the reasons I was looking forward to so much to watching The Big Sleep, though, after I realised I hadn't, as I thought, seen it and was in fact thinking of The Maltese Falcon, where Humphrey Bogart plays Dashiell Hammett's private detective and not Raymond Chandler's, are the types of thoughts I tend to have when The Big Lebowski, previously noted on this podcast as my favourite film. General Sherwood, confined to his wheelchair and with the wayward daughter whose lifestyle he disapproves of, certainly brings to mind The Big Lebowski. He may even have the same blanket, but Marlowe bears no resemblance to the dude. Most particularly, he's actually competent. Oh, though, on a tangent arising from a nagging but fairly idle thought while I wrote this, and of no importance, especially to this review, do you think The Big Lebowski is like a film equivalent of The Legend of Zelda, where a substantial number of people think that the dude is The Big Lebowski, as many people think Link is called Zelda? Now, I'm not saying that these are the thoughts that keep me up at night or anything, though... But again, I digress. Those are really the only overt similarities, though, and that's probably just as well, as I was able to soon stop being distracted by looking for their influences and started just enjoying the film instead. Big Sleep's plot is convoluted and is considered by many to be confusing at points, and while I wasn't confused, it's hard to deny that as a valid criticism, as more than once Marlowe seems to be suddenly operating with new information or deductions that there was no hint of before. Much of that is likely due to the film's production history. It was shot in 1944, but its release put on hold until after the end of World War II, and by its release in 1946, it had been recut and new scenes shot in order to play up the Bogey and Bacall romance, due particularly to audience fascination with its real-life counterpart. And for the most part, I'm okay with that, as I really enjoy the chemistry between them. Though it's the character of Carmen that's actually the most sexual and provocative. Apparently much of Martha Vickers' performance was cut so as to not overshadow Bacall. Even without that chemistry though, I think I'd enjoy this, as Bogart is just a fascinating actor to watch, and few could deliver a smart-arse line like he could. And Chandler's book, adapted by William Faulkner, Lee Brackett and Jules Furthman, gives him plenty of opportunity to do that. It's the dialogue and Bogart's delivery of it that provides most of the impetus for The Big Sleep, and that papers over a lot of cracks in the erratic narrative, and I absolutely buy Bogart's basic honesty, ability, and later in his guilt, making his interpretation of Marlowe a joy to watch. It's only in the very last scene that the lacking story really becomes an issue for me, leaving me emitting a loud, in response to the film's lacklustre conclusion. Still, I heartily recommend The Big Sleep, making this the last of the exactly 50% of these films I have any time for.
Yes. Chandler, Bogart, Noir. All these are very much core to my interests, so yes, I like The Big Sleep an awful lot. It's a very enjoyable film. I can't imagine what sort of monster you would have to be to not enjoy The Big Sleep. It's just really entertaining. It sounds stupid. I mean, if you have any appreciation for film noir at all, then of course you've seen this already. But if you haven't, watch it, because it's really good.
I do appreciate film noir, and somehow I had managed to not see it, Scott.
So I suppose that's why we're here. Yes, everyone watch The Big Sleep. It's good. I don't know if I've got a lot more to say about it. I think I covered most of the beats there, but yeah, I just really like it. I think it's a really good film. I enjoy the hell out of it, and have done for a long time. It's good. Watch it.
I've got to fast track this next week as well, because my experience of Chandler on film up until this point has been Robert Altman's The Long Goodbye, which I absolutely adore, and I've got no good excuse for not having seen The Big Sleep up until this point. So, given it's a hot topic, I will endeavour to do that. But that's of no use to you right now, listeners, is it? So, I have seen the next film we'll talk about though, so I can say something about that.
I do feel I should talk more about The Big Sleep just to reinforce the point, but I don't think this would really be adding anything to the discussion. I think Drew did a pretty good job of hitting all the main points of why it is so good. And yes, the plot is almost necessarily convoluted to the point that I think it is a bit difficult to follow. Genuinely, it is a bit too twisty, but it almost doesn't matter. I've read somewhere that it's more concerned with the kind of investigative process than it is about the actual results or the actions of it. It's just, which I think is a fancy way of saying it's just about watching Bogart go about his business, which frankly you could do with almost any aspect of his life. He's just a fascinating guy to watch on film, and that's what makes this really enjoyable. So that is his main selling point, and it's probably the only reason you need to watch it.
Yeah, I could watch Humphrey Bogart pretty much anything. I was like watching this, I'm thinking, I love Humphrey Bogart. I've not watched anything like enough, because everything I've seen him in, I thought he's brilliant. So I need to add some more stuff. But
Drew, until To Have and Have Not, I had never seen a Humphrey Bogart film.
Never seen Casablanca?
Nope.
The African Queen? No?
Nope. Wow. Huge glaring hole in my knowledge. So
fix that soon.
Yeah,
get that on the spreadsheet for topics. Yeah,
it's like part of the convoluted plot. I mean, yes, Scott, part of it is the point, but it does suffer with its recut. There was apparently a massive scene cut where the DA, the Los Angeles DA, who's only mentioned as a kind of background character, is never seen in this. The cut that was released, there's apparently a big scene like laying out all the evidence so far. It's like, that might have been useful.
Yeah.
Pacing
I
reasons.
well enough without it, so it's not like it's quite a thing when even the author of the original work didn't know whether the chauffeur had killed himself or was murdered. That sounds like that's not been particularly well thought through, but again, turned out to be irrelevant to me and my enjoyment of it.
It's nothing.
Yeah, there we go.